Okay, so the presentation here, the purpose of this training is just it's we're going to talk about the scale and using it as a tool for your long-term health and wellness. So the scale is one of the measures that has been showing people who are weighing and weighing on a regular basis are there's a better chance of them being able to maintain their long-term results. So it's a very important tool, and I kind of just want to go over some things here to just give you the right perspective of what the scale's for. So my purpose of the presentation is like I want to empower you by giving you the proper way to view the scale. Again, it is one of the most powerful tools, and I want to give you clarity on how to use it for data and not your self-worth. So, and we'll kind of get into that as we go here. So what we're going to cover is the purpose of the scale, the mindset around the scale, weighing in daily versus weekly, calorie deficit, and then just water retention. So I just want to leave you with some things that you're going to be able to move forward in the right direction. So the purpose of the scale, it's a number. So all it is it's data. It's information that's coming back of where you are currently at. It is truth. It's one of the things is like we try to avoid it because sometimes we don't want to deal with the truth, but all it is a number. And a lot of times like you need like if and there can be emotional attachment to it because sometimes you're working really hard, you're trying to do the right things, and sometimes you are doing the right things and it doesn't go in the right direction. So there's reactions that do come from it, but in actuality it's just a number. So it's a tool to help you to know where you're currently at so you can make decisions on what needs to happen based on whatever your goal is. So if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to maintain or even trying to gain weight, like it's there to provide you what you need to know so you can make the proper decisions. So now the one thing, and it's really the big reason why I wanted to do this training, is the mindset around the scale. Because it's like what happens is that scale is just giving you a number. There's nothing wrong with the scale. It's just providing you feedback. And a lot of times, like when you're losing weight, it's fun, it's exciting. Like, yes, I lost or I'm maintained, I'm staying where I'm at. But and that's an emotion that comes from seeing a number, which is just data and information. Or on the other hand, you're not seeing the results that you want to see. So the emotion of getting down on ourselves and being upset because we put in a really hard effort and maybe we're following everything, and I'll kind of get into small little details of all that with this, but it's like all that scale is doing is giving you information, and it's allowing you to be able to make decisions based on actions that you're taking to head in the direction of what you're looking to achieve. So as we go through this, it's a roller coaster. I've had hundreds of conversations over the years. That's why I'm putting this training together, because this is just something that's valuable to understand, and I want to give clarity on this process. But like the scales, it's a roller coaster as you're kind of going through it. It's up, it's down, but there's always reasons why. And over time, you can, like when you are weighing and you're weighing on a regular basis, you can start to understand those things, and that's how it becomes a valuable resource. But you can't get caught up on the day to day, and it needs to be longer term, and it needs to be tracked as well. So there's lots of tools. Even a lot of the scales, digital scales that are out there, have apps now where it gives you the graph, so you can have it tracked on there. And I'll kind of give you a little bit more perspective, but you got to see it for what it is. It's simply feedback. So it's simply just a number, and I just kind of want to reinforce that it's not your self-worth. It has nothing to do, and this is where you got to catch yourself. So it's like you got to look at it as a tool to be able to learn, and you just got to understand as well, like what's going on and what's causing you to whatever, like when you, and a lot of times in the case here, when it's most times when people are trying to lose weight and they're not seeing the results, they're working really hard, they're doing their exercising, they're eating right. And there's a lot to that. That's not the scope of the video. I just kind of wanted to go into that, but it's like, it has nothing to do with where your worth. Now, when you do have that emotional reaction, you kind of get down, and that little voice in the back of our mind starts saying, I just can't lose weight. There's something wrong with me. My hormones are off or something. Like those are that you got to just disregard that because it's just a number, and you got to learn how to look at it objectively from your overall big picture of the choices that you're making or where you're at, so you can figure out the path to be able to get the results. And it's simply there as a tool. So weighing in daily versus weekly. Now there's all kinds of debate about this, and I personally think daily is the best, but I also understand that's not for everybody. So it just depends on you. It just depends on where you're at, your ability to be able to handle those emotions. If you can weigh daily and not have those negative reactions, feelings that are created, then daily is going to be better. But if not, I definitely recommend weekly. And weekly a lot of times doesn't really paint the real picture of what's going on. I just recently did a video showing like one of my clients who's lost 40 pounds in a quick, like, what the time frame was, probably around 20 weeks, 18 weeks or something. But it was like, it's up and down. It's like a little squiggly line going down. It's an average about 2 pounds per week. So it's great, efficient weight loss. And that's how it goes for everybody. But it depends on you, and you've got to decide. I've got somebody else who's down over 50 pounds right now, and she weighs weekly because it's too much for her to handle seeing it daily. It messes with their mind too much. So you got to understand yourself. Hopefully this can kind of give you some perspective of understanding like what the scale's for, but it just depends on you. So you got to make that decision there. So now I'm just going to kind of dive in. I'm not here to talk about how to lose weight and all this, but in actuality, like, you do have to create a calorie deficit. So you have to make sure you are eating eating less than what your body actually needs, and you got to be eating the right foods. So I'll kind of just throw those in for right now. So like, as you're trying to lose weight and you're not seeing the scale like move, it's kind of taking a look at like, are you in a deficit? If you're not measuring, you don't know. So it's like, eating healthy doesn't mean you're going to lose weight. But again, this isn't the scope of the conversation. It's to just understand the data that's coming back so you can start making choices and figuring out in detail of like things you're consuming, how, and everything else. Right type of foods, eating nutritiously, and this is what I like to teach and coach everybody. Eating real food that comes out of a tree, comes from the ground, comes straight from the animal. Single ingredient foods is always going to be the best choice. So, and that's just I just wanted to throw that in because I want to inspire people to be healthy, and that's kind of the best way to go when you are trying to create a calorie deficit. Now, a lot of times, like with the scale, like there's little ups and downs, like with the person that I just explained before. There's lots of things that can cause, like there's water retention, because 1 pound of weight is 3,500 calories. So if you haven't eaten 3,500 calories, you have not gained 1 pound of body fat, which is the thing that you're worried about. It's fat loss versus the water retention. But water retention, like when you're in the process and you are eating well, if you have a high sodium meal, that can cause you to retain water the next day. So even if you're in a deficit, you're still losing body fat, but the water retention will have the weight up. It's no big deal. And that's when you weigh on a daily basis, it does give you the perspective to understand where you're at, like in regards to your weight, and you can kind of really start pinpointing the meals, because you're like, oh, I'm up a pound or two, but I had sushi last night, so soy sauce. I mean, it's because that's something like with me, I'm going to be up 2 pounds, maybe even a little more from the water retention. It's not body fat. So if I'm in a deficit, I would still be losing. Carbohydrates. So if you have a lot more carbohydrates, a lot of times when you're reducing, you're eating less carbs, which a lot of times people cut back. I don't recommend cutting them all out, but when you have less, and let's just say you just have more carbohydrates, even just at night, for every part carb, you hold 3 parts water. So water weight will be up a little bit because the carbohydrates are going to hold more water. It's not fat weight, so it's no big deal. Women, menstrual cycle, I mean, you're going to retain water around then. Inflammation, so like when your body's inflamed, you can retain water there. Inadequate hydration, if you're not drinking enough water, that can cause you to retain water. Magnesium, potassium imbalances there. I know those can affect as well, so just kind of understanding those, which I don't have that one in here. And then timing a meal, so like when you're having the meals later at night, that can cause like the weight to be up a little bit. Overall, this requires tracking. Like if you want to understand these type of things and really understand it, like you got to make sure you're tracking your calories. and you're tracking your weight and align with it. So it's like understanding like what you're eating, when you're eating it, the type of food you're going to eat. Because if you're eating a lot of processed foods and breads and those type of things, like you're going to get a lot more sodium and carbohydrate and just usually in general, which is going to cause you to retain more water. So as long as you're in a deficit and eating, usually, anyway, I'm not here to talk about that today, but I hope this gives you perspective of the scale, but it's just data. Now, just to kind of leave you with one last thing, what I recommend, the best way to weigh, I do recommend daily, but the daily weight doesn't matter. Like when you're in the process of losing weight, the weekly averages. So you take the week, you take up all your weights for the week, and then you divide it by 7. That gives you your weekly average. And then you look at that over, like after you start getting into a month, 2 months, then you can look, because what you want in the process of losing weight, you want that average to be going down. The day-to-day doesn't matter. And that can be one of the disadvantages of when you're weighing on a weekly basis. Like even with the people that I work with, I have everybody weigh in on Monday. And if they're only weighing weekly and they didn't really follow, a lot of times people fall off on the weekend, so their Monday weight's going up, but that weekly average may be going down. Now over time, as we start getting that every Monday Monday weigh, it will be going down little bits, but that weekly average is what to look at, and which is the most important. And when you do that and you start tracking that number that has that emotional reaction that we have to it gets desensitized, because it's just data then, because then you can kind of start mixing and matching, understanding like the foods that you're eating, the timing when you're eating them, the foods that you are intaking and what's going on there. So it just gives you perspective. But anyway, I hope that's helpful. So I just wanted to put this quick training together. If you have any questions, just type in wherever comments are at or whatever. And anyway, give me a thumbs up if you do find it helpful, and have an awesome day.